Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our episode 7 of the African Real Estate Podcast. And here we explore the dynamics of real estate. In our past episodes, we have looked at various issues, running from what to invest in, what to consider when investing, how to avoid being scammed. The recent episode, which is episode 6, we happened to look at a will, what a will is it important, is it not? And today we have much more lined up for you. But before I introduce the topic, I am Dominic Mwangi alongside
Victor Kiplagat. Welcome, guys.
So we will be looking at the mixed use development. What mixed use development is it important? Why is it on the rise? Is it beneficial? Is it not? And all that is in our episode 7 of African Real Estate Podcast.
Right. Mixed use development is also known as mixed property. Mixed use development consists of a single property with multiple purpose.
All right.
For example, you might find that a residential apartment or property with retail stores or commercial stores.
Awesome. You find that mixed use development is a type of urban development. It's a design, planning, or a zone classification presently allowing the blending of property use. A property has both residential, it has recreation. This is a mixed-use development. It also allows more than one utilization or one purpose within a shared property or a development area. Such a project may include a blended housing, rental, medical, recreational, commercial, and industrial components, just as we earlier mentioned.
Additionally, common used mixed-use development is commercial at the front and residential houses at the back. Like you might find these areas whereby they have commercial apartments at the front, I believe because of easier visibility and also because there's some commercial stores at the front are adjacent to highways or roads, or adjacent to where it will be easily seen by potential investors or people who want to rent the space. And then you find that the residential houses are at the back, obviously because of the privacy of residents who live in such areas. This is called horizontal development. On the flip side, we find that other investors prefer ground floors for commercial use and the rest of the buildings accommodates residents. This is called vertical development.
Amazing. We will refer them to our episode 5 about high-rise buildings. There are so many common points between high-rise buildings as well as the mixed-use development. Majorly, the concept about mixed-use development is pulling different facilities to one locality, building, or property.
Exactly. One might ask themselves, what are the benefits of mixed-use property as far as real estate development is concerned? The first point, proper management. Once you have all your property in one place rather than in different locations, it is easy to manage. When doing repairs, it will be cheaper because you'll pay for bulk services. I mean, instead of having one person for the water, another person looks at the electricity, another person looks at the renovation and refurbishment of the property. Because it's situated in one location, the one person who looks at the water for commercial properties will also look at the water for residences. And the other person who looks at electricity for commercial apartments will look at the electricity for the residents because it's a mixed-use property.
And this also, you find that it will tend to cut the cost rather than having to pay for the same service for different properties.
Sure. Another great advantage is that broad client base. With mixed-use property or mixed-use development, the property will not stay long without tenants because if you don't get a residential tenant, you will definitely get a commercial one. And when an area is buzzing with mixed-use development, better social amenities will be established because you find that this mixed-use development, when they are of a top quality, even the social amenities will be of top quality so that it befits the residents in that space who use the commercial properties for their business ventures.
Amazing. People will tend to live in an area that has almost all, if not all, the social amenities.
Exactly. And you know, these social amenities, when they are closer to the residents and the commercial apartments, it saves one the transport cost cost of to and fro, moving to the next locality for your hospital, shopping, or even if your children want to move to school, because it saves the essence of transport.
Sure.
Also, it poses a less risk to investors. Just like point two that I've mentioned, when commercial sector goes down, the residential aspect of the mixed-use development keeps the business afloat.
One will support the other when one is low.
And indeed, also you find that it poses a higher return. Commercial property has high return because the charges are usually high. Doubling up in profit in mixed-use development could mean that in every residential apartment, commercial property will emerge eventually. People will always have this idea that because I have a business, people will need a place to live, to go to school, to shop, a parking space. If I'll have all this under one space, then I'll double up my developmental profit to twofold, threefold, or even tenfold.
Sure. There are also challenges that are facing the mixed-use development now that we have talked about the benefits. The main challenge is security issue. Now, you find that there are some places where access should be restricted. Take an example of a building that is serving both commercial and residential purposes. You find that on the ground floor, on the basement, maybe there is a mall, and on the upper floors, there are residential buildings. So there should be some way of restricting these people who are shopping from accessing the residential property so as to ensure that the security of these people who are residing in this building is tight. So the security should be checked into when designing the property. Another point is the noise transfer. When a property is shared for both residential as well as entertainment purpose, a joint, a bar, pub shared within a property that has residential units, you find that this noise will be a disturbance to the people who are residing in this property. For example, you find that when the government took office in 2022, Nairobi County government brought about restrictions about the pubs, the bars that are around residential places. They were to put up soundproofs so as to ensure that they do not disturb those who are residing around the same premises. So you find that mitigations and measures should be put in place to ensure that a recreation facility is not becoming a nuisance. Another issue is about the waste disposal. Take an example. A property has some space for a hospital and a residential as well. You find that the waste that comes from a hospital, you'll find syringes, gloves, any medical waste, you'll find it there. Look at this, residential waste, kitchen refuse, etc. So you cannot tell me that these two types of wastes will be mixed. So when coming up with a residential property, you also have to consider what purpose will it be serving. Will there be a hospital? If yes, what are the channels for disposal of their waste? For recreation, if it's a pub, among their waste, there are glasses, there are bottles. These waste cannot be mixed with other types of waste. When designing for mixed-use development, there is need to ensure that you put into consideration the type of waste this property will be having. Another key point is about parking. Mixed-use development, it partially intends to reduce automobility. However, not everybody has mentally adapted this, that you can leave your car. Because you're still staying in this property, you will really need to use a car because in this property there is a shopping center, there is a hospital nearby, there is a school.
One-stop shop, basically.
Exactly, one-stop shop. So you find they still acquire vehicles. These vehicles will need space. You find that if this property is also serving a hospital, it will need a reserved parking for an ambulance. How will you sort the parking for your property? This has become a challenge, and all this can be solved from the word go. When designing, how do you consider each of these challenges for the investors? Always consider these challenges before coming up with a building. From the stage of designing, when laying the plan, always have in mind and come up with possible solutions to all these issues.
Wonderful. There are some other disadvantages I'd like to mention them. The mixed-use property and development, it's costly. It's costly because since you need two types of property, you may have to dig deeper into your pockets to be able to establish this property to perfection in terms of the commercial property and residential property. If it's buying land, undeveloped or complete property, you'll need a lot of money. In addition, the down payment will be huge. Also, when you want to get the loan from a bank. The bank might need some security, your financial standard, your financial record. It's not a walk in the park like, hey, so and so bank, I don't want to mention names, please give me 20 million to be able to establish my property. If I say bank, some people might say I'm stoning their favorite savings bank or investment bank. I'm not.
They may also say that you have been paid, you have been bought.
Yeah. No. This podcast, please, for the record, is not a paid podcast by so and so bank. It's fully African real estate podcast. On a light note, also conflict of interest among the tenants. Residential and commercial tenants will always have different interests, like cleanliness, usage of shared amenities like water and electricity. Under these they're called community disputes that might occur. Also, you might find that the congestion that might occur while accessing these amenities or services may bring about dispute. To make sure that dispute is avoided, the investor will ensure that people have their own metered water and electricity. In case of water and electricity rationing, offer notice in advance. I see KPLC doing it. It's quite important.
So that they are not ambushed by your decision or your rationing.
You can imagine if a patient was on life support machine and then the electricity is switched off. That is a disaster waiting to happen.
It can be very unfortunate.
Yeah, and fatal.
True.
Finally, in case of fire, you may lose the property. So to be able to avoid the effects of inferno raising down your property to ashes in minutes, seconds, or hours, insurance against fire can help the property owner to have a sense of normalcy in operation in little or no time. Someone might ask, in little or no time, how? This would mean that if the property has been raised down, the insurance might have some plans, some contingency plan. Either the residents and commercial partners in business will move to this location to operate briefly, while the main one that was raised down by fire is under construction, or we give you the money so that you can start off at a different place. And as the property that was raised down by fire is in construction, you will live at this place. And because of the inconvenience, this is the amount of money that the insurance will cover.
All right. Yeah, and we can also, Victor, promise them that in the near future, we will also be tackling about property insurance so that we can expound more on this.
Very important topic.
Amazing. So we conclude by looking at why the mixed-use development is on the rise. And this majorly is attached to the benefits that are coming along with the mixed-use development or mixed-use property. Presently, people are not only after living well and working, they are also craving for vibrant neighborhoods and connectivity and a sense of belonging. Mixed-use development tend to come up with the solution to these cravings, majorly accessibility and convenience. Integration of residential units, commercial spaces, and recreational facilities is geared towards reducing the movement and long trips between each other when you are looking for this service and the other. For example, in the traditional developments, you will be moving from a place to a shop to go to a shopping center, to go to a shopping complex. You will have to move miles. However, mixed-use development have reduced this. You find that you just use the lift to descend to the basement, get into a mall, you do the shopping, and you get back into your lift and you get back to your room. So it has eased accessibility and it has become convenient. This is also promoting sustainable lifestyles. The variety of amenities. There are a diverse range of amenities which meet the people evolving and insatiable needs and human wants. An investor will choose to build a mixed-use development rather than a single-use development because you will tap more facilities. There is an opportunity for more people to come into your property because people are choosing what is most convenient for them and where there are a variety of amenities. And last but not least, the mixed-use development increases economic opportunities. So the availability of commercial spaces within and around residential properties and places provide chances for exploiting the opportunity of providing and availing goods and services, thus more income. Victor, you will tend to move closer to a place that has space where you can set up an office. A business will reduce the cost of traveling, which will reduce a lot of costs that are incurred on daily lives with the movement from the residential to the office or commercial space. And this, many people will also tend to move in your direction.
Great point. It's important that our dear listeners know that when you want to set up mixed-use property, mixed-use development, look for the gap. The most successful investors looked at problems of investment as gaps or opportunities for solution to provide for the market. And you are one step away from being a favorite real estate investor who will attract the right potential clientele to your marketplace.
Exactly. So what Victor, you're telling us is that whether there are people who are doing mixed use development, you do it, but do it uniquely such that people refer you to them according to how unique your services are, how unique your property is, and what it avails to them.
Yeah, sure.
That is it, ladies and gentlemen. That has been our episode 7, and we can promise next Tuesday, same place, same time, we will be up with another episode. And until then, I have been your host, Dominic Mwangi.
Victor Kiplagat has been your co-host.
And
have a wonderful time.
Have a nice time.